let's dive into what happened today. I know on Friday night's broadcast, both of you were saying that if the judge allowed the allegations of financial mismanagement charges, whatever you want to call it, against Alec Murdaugh in this trial to be used as evidence, then basically his goose was cooked. You guys sticking by that tonight?
Cooked. Yeah, it seemed like Judge Newman was heavily leaning towards allowing that type of evidence. He took the weekend to think about it. We heard a little bit more today from Attorney Tinsley, and then he made his ruling. And it's coming in, and it's not just a part of it, it's all of it. From confrontations the day of the incident, to fraudulent clients, to fraud against the bank, everything. And so it's very bad news for the defense.
It means that Alec Murdaugh has got an uphill. The judge is really supposed to be the gatekeeper, but he's also supposed to consider what the state considers its motive. And so here, whether the state honestly believes that's the motive or can't think of anything else to really come up with as the motive, they are going to be allowed to talk about all these other bad acts, financial malfeasance. And like I said previously, I think it's going to make it incredibly hard for Mr. Murdaugh because he's going to have to take the fifth. He's going to have to deal with a jury that knows from credible witnesses that he's a liar. And if they didn't have that information coming in, they can kind of look at this in a clean way. So Luke and I have been talking about this all day. The criminal defense lawyers in us cringe at this kind of evidence coming in, but it's great for the state. It helps them tell their story. Judge Newman was talking about res gestae, and that is exactly that, the state's ability to be able to tell their story how they see fit here.
But it's been a steady flow of witnesses for the past 4 days about alleged financial crimes for this jury.
That's correct. Most of the witnesses today were all about financial crimes. We had the bank CEO, we had the Satterfield case, and then we also had Chris Wilson, the family friend that he grew up with and who was also a lawyer, all about the stealing. And I think it also gave, though, the defense an opportunity to ask questions of his friend that he cared about his family.
Right.
And to show that he cared for him.
At this point, the jury knows that the state is arguing that the alleged motive here would be to buy more time to buy more time to do something about these alleged financial crimes. That's why the state would be presenting all this evidence, correct? They would know that by now.
I think they would know that, but we don't know that for sure. When you're trying a case, you don't know what the jury's thinking. It's hard to know what they're thinking because they're sitting there, they're not communicating. So from the prosecution, you're hoping that that's what they're seeing here. And that's what they're believing, that, hey, the motive is he's trying to cover up. But that's kind of where closing comes into play. At the end, after everybody's testified, that you close it all together and you explain.
I want to show our viewers something that I don't think we've had a chance to see before. That's body cam footage that was released. I believe the jury has already seen this body cam footage. It shows the interaction with Alec Murdaugh with the first deputy that arrived on the scene the night of those murders. Have you guys seen this video? And if so, what do you make of it? Is he acting the way you would expect one to act after finding the bodies of his wife and his son?
Well, it's hard to say, but I think yes. I'm sure the jury has seen this, and you see him doubling over and kind of pacing and seeming upset. I'm sure the jury has several different body cam angles of him and his live reaction. Now, whether he's a great actor and it's all a long con, or whether this is true Alec Murdaugh in the moment finding his loved ones dead, that's going to be for the jury to decide.
Let's talk about what happened today. Buster Murdaugh on the stand today,
right.
A character witness more or less for his father, not unexpected by the defense, right?
No, I think that we knew he was going to testify. What was unexpected to me was that he actually testified first, because you want to start with something strong and then end with something strong. And so now I'm kind of wondering what they're going to end with. Is it going to be Alec's testimony? So I don't know. It wasn't a surprise that he was going to testify, but it was a surprise that he testified first.
And you say Alec's testimony. Do you think Murdaugh needs to take the stand in his own defense?
I thought that he needed to take the stand until they put the OnStar evidence in.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they put the OnStar evidence in, I thought there's no way he could take the stand. There's too much damning information that they can cross-examine him with. So the more that the defense puts in, it kind of puts them a little bit more on an even keel. And now I'm back to I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. It's his decision ultimately.
Let's dive into some of this testimony we heard today. First, how do you think the state did with cross-examination today?
I thought Creighton came out stronger than yesterday. I thought he did a very good job of establishing that Alec is a liar. I don't really think there's a whole lot of confusion about that fact. I did think he gave too many cross-examine questions that were compound questions. You really want to ask something that's a yes or no answer that you can get a firm answer pretty quickly. I thought there was a bit too many run-on questions.
And how do you think Murdaugh handled himself on the stand today with Creighton Waters?
I thought Murdaugh did well. You know, it's hard to cross-examine a lawyer. Alec has been a solicitor. He's stood in Creighton's shoes before. He probably has a better idea of what a prosecutor is trying to do during a cross-examination than maybe any witness Creighton's ever had to do cross on.
I've seen a lot of social media comments saying Murdaugh basically took the solicitor to school today, the prosecution to school today. That's just some opinions that I've seen on social media. But then I've also seen others saying, like you just said, it was perhaps a better day for the prosecution than yesterday.
I think they both had strong moments. You know, Creighton came out, he did well getting to certain facts. I thought he asked some questions where he got answers that really helped establish the pattern that Alec had lied to everyone. He had taken advantage of people. I also thought there were some questions where he didn't really get the answers he was looking for. And I did think Alec did a strong job on the stand.
But do you think the case was won with Meadors today? If there was some waffling by the jury because of Creighton Waters, as you say, with his closing?
Absolutely.
The tide turned today.
Absolutely, absolutely, John Meadors, knocked in that game-winning RBI.
Mm-hmm.
He got up there with the emotions. He got up there. You know, he had you could feel it. You didn't even have to be in the courtroom. You could watch it. Most of us watched it being attorneys today, and you could feel it with him. And you weren't even in that same courtroom. Right. He was bleeding out everything that he had right there. And he did a heck of a job.
Now, I will have to say, too, though, that Creighton deserves credit because, like I said, I have never told anybody whether I think he's guilty or not. I am not that kind of, on my social media. I don't tell people whether I think he's guilty because I want you to watch the evidence of the trial. I don't want you to be non-biased. Watch the evidence and then decide, because if not, you end up with an O.J. Simpson type of situation where everybody's like, he's guilty, and they don't understand why he was found not guilty. So I tell everybody, watch this case and watch the evidence and then see if you still feel the same way. And I was doing that as well. So Creighton stood up and made his points, and he reminded me of some of the reasons why I felt he was guilty in the first place, even though I felt like he had not met his burden in the case in chief. He did. It was long and it went on and it was cumulative, but he did make his points in that and brought us. So he got us to the, let's say, second, third base, and then Meadors knocked it home.
Again in court today, Alec Murdaugh saying he's not the killer and being admonished by Judge Clifton Newman, Luke.
That's right, JR. It was very interesting to see Alec, very vociferously hold his tune, whether people think that's a lie or not. His lawyers didn't do a whole lot of talking, which was somewhat surprising. And then Judge Newman did what Judge Newman typically does during a sentence, is really let you know how he feels.
Are you guys surprised that no one spoke out in defense of Murdaugh this morning at the sentencing hearing? Brian?
I am. And that, the only thing I can think is that must have been somehow strategic. Normally, that's the toughest job of a trial lawyer, is speaking on your behalf of your client at the end of a hard trial where you lost. It must have been an emotional roller coaster. But yeah, they all chose not to speak, including Buster and other family members.
Are you guys surprised that we reached a verdict so quickly yesterday? About 3 hours.
It is a little bit surprising, unless they've pretty much made up their minds and are just beating down one or two, which seems to be the rumors, that it was most of the jurors came back pretty quickly with a guilty and were beating down a couple and one undecided. So you really hope that they have fully deliberated, and I can only trust that they did. But in this case, I think you've got so much evidence of lying, financial and otherwise, and his statements about his actions that night. So I think that probably boiled down to it, plus the kennel video. It made it relatively easy for them.